Welcome to Melbourne by Transit. My name's Dean, and although I may not be the oldest person on YouTube, I am pretty close. Now, last video I came to you from Mont, so it's only fair I give an equal amount of time to its sister station, which is also closing in mid-February 2023. So here we are today at Surrey Hills. As per Mont, the land around Surrey Hills was occupied by the Wurundjeri-William clan. The area around Surrey Hills was originally purchased from the Crown in 1841 by Henry Elgar through the Colonial Land and Immigration Commissioners of the British Government as a special survey. It's interesting to note that at this time this land was still part of New South Wales, as Victoria as a colony was still 10 years away from being proclaimed. The Commission had rules for these special surveys. They were to be 5,120 acres, which is 8 square miles. They also had to be at least 5 miles from any surveyed township, and the water frontage was restricted to 1 mile for every 4 square miles on the allotment. The price of land was set at just £1 per acre, which was extremely cheap even for that time. If Henry Elgar had left that money sitting under his mattress and then tried to buy land today, he would get about 2 square metres worth. There were 8 special surveys which were advertised in June 1841, and Elgar's was one of these. The boundaries for Elgar's survey were set at the Yarra River and Coonung Creek to the north, and the other 3 boundaries were set as what are now the roads of Burke Road to the west, Canterbury Road to the south, and Elgar Road to the east. So yes, at least Henry Elgar did have a road named after him. This survey covered the current Melbourne suburbs of the northern parts of Surrey Hills and Canterbury, Deep Dean, Burwood and Burwood North, Mont Albert and Mont Albert North. Oh, that was a quick game. Ooh, did get the high score though, cool. A commentary on the purchase came from the Sydney Gazette and New South Wales Advertiser on Thursday 24th of June 1841 on page 3 in a small column under Port Phillip News. The part of this that related at least to Henry Elgar's purchase said, "Those gentlemen who have been fortunate enough to obtain special surveys in our province have had ample reason to be thankful. Mr Elgar, who owns another special survey near the Yarra Yarra about 7 miles from Melbourne, has refused £8 an acre for 100 acres. And remembering too that he just purchased it for £1 an acre. The commentary went on to say that verily the time for speculating in land has not yet gone by. Also interesting to note that it's now over 180 years later and it's still the time for speculating in land. To discover how the name of Surrey Hills came about, it's very simple indeed. The Surrey was named for the English county and the hills for the rolling hills around the area. Notice they went for the very sensible Surrey Hills and not something like Mount Surrey and punch above their weight. And yes, I'm looking at you, Mont Albert and Mount Waverley. The railway was extended through the area from Camberwell to Lilydale in 1882, and the station was opened soon after in August 1883. This was 7 years before Mont Albert got their station. The engineers of the time were reluctant to stop at Surrey Hills, as it was very difficult to restarting it on the steep gradient that followed the station upwards towards Mont Albert. Notice there the use of the word uphill and not up mountain. Okay, no more hill mountain talk now. The line was duplicated through the Box Hill in 1888, and Platform 2 was created at that time. In the 1930s, a small goods yard was constructed on the southern side of the station. It's where the car park was up until a couple of months ago, but that too has now been demolished. The third track and Platform 3 were added in 1971. Union Road had a gatekeeper and gates until they were replaced by the boom gates in 1962. These in turn are in the process of being removed as part of the level crossing removal project, and the railway lines will be lowered below Union Road. As part of this process, Surrey Hills Station along with Mont Albert Station are being demolished, and they will be replaced by one central station to be named Union Station. Although it will be positioned partway between the 2 current stations, the new Union Station will be located much closer to the current position of the Surrey Hills Station than the Mont Albert Station. If you would like to have one last explore of this old station, you do not have much time, as it's slated to close forever in mid-February 2023. Even if you can't make it in time to visit the old station before it's demolished, Surrey Hills Township still has a lot to offer. The main shops are located on Union Road, both north and south of the railway line. The post office was opened in 1884. The last bank closed in the 1990s, and this did worry the locals a bit. However, a new community bank was established in 2003. Don't be fooled by this building though, it's definitely not a bank despite what it says up the top of the building. There are also a lot of historical buildings in the area such as the Rex and Surrey Theatres, and there are information signs here so you can read about their history. The local streets are an absolute delight, and many pin oaks and plane trees were planted when the suburb was first being developed. Just to be clear, when I say plane tree, I'm not really talking about something like this, more this. They are now fully mature and show a real English influence. They're beautiful to see in spring and summer, and even in autumn. You can also visit the Surrey Hills Neighbourhood Centre Heritage Collection. You can also find a number of really nice murals. Hey, this one's in Paris. I'm always in awe of these artists, how they manage to paint something so large and beautiful. Surrey Hills has not one but two stations, as Chatham is located a few hundred metres to the west of the Surrey Hills Station. Chatham will remain untouched by the level crossing removal project. For me at least, this is good news, as I'm quite fond of these red brick buildings that are common to a lot of the stations of this era. Whilst in Surrey Hills, there are two parks that are definitely worth a visit. Surrey Gardens Park is Old English and only a couple of hundred metres south of the station along Union Road. It was designed by William Robert Guilfoyle, an English landscape gardener and botanist. He designed many of the parks and gardens around Melbourne and in regional Victoria. He also went on to become director of the Royal Botanic Gardens. It has a shrine which was erected in 1917 and commemorates the Great War. There are a couple of cannons dating from 1843 and somehow known as Brooks Babies, but I'm not too sure why. And there's also a nice little rotunda. A little bit further south you can find the South Surrey Park. From Surrey Gardens Park it's another 400 metres south along Union Road. To get a bit closer, you could also take the number 70 tram along Riversdale Road and get off at the Through Road shops. This will put you at the southern entrance. The park is progressively being replanted with indigenous native species. You'll find a lot of interesting signboards also around the park. The park is maintained by the City of Borondara and the Friends of South Surrey Park. I'll put some information for their website in the description of the video. Other ways to get to Surrey Hills include the 109 tram, which travels along the northern boundary of Surrey Hills along Whitehorse Road. For more details on the history of this tram, check out my Mont episode. As mentioned earlier, the number 70 tram travels along the southern boundary of Surrey Hills along Riversdale Road. I'll maybe put a bit more detail into the history of this tram line in a future video. The 766 bus starts in Box Hill and goes through both Mont Albert and Surrey Hills stations on the way to Burwood. There is also the 612 bus that starts at Box Hill, heads over through Mont Albert Station, Surrey Hills Station, onto Glen Iris Station before heading right over to Chadstone. It's a very, very windy route. And that brings us to the end of another episode of Melbourne by Transit. Now I do intend to come back once all these changes have been made and have a look at the new Union Station and film a little bit at Mont Albert and Surrey Hills just to see what it looks like then. So please keep a lookout for that. Now similarly, if you did like this episode and you would like to see more, then please consider pressing the subscribe button and also the like button if you like, and you'll be in line to see more videos as they come out, and I do have a few more lined up as well. That would be marvellous. But in the meantime, do come along, have a look around and enjoy the delight that is Surrey Hills. Thanks for watching.